Do I need to clap?
No, that's the beauty of this. So like we're doing this new thing now where like we're seeing this in 240p, but it's recording from both of our sources in 1080p. And then it's also like taking an organic file from your headphones, which I'm pretty pumped on. So what
Sweet.
happened to Tuck, real quick? What happened to Tuck? Is he okay?
Tuck is okay. So right before I walk into group, hopefully this will still record well. As I'm getting ready to walk into here, I was like, oh, I should grab my iPad so I can keep up to date, and I have some notes on there. It's in our bedroom. Walk in there, catch Tuck red-handed in the trash going after something. I don't know what. It's my wife's trash can that he got into. So I'm waiting for her to text me back to tell me what Tuck has possibly eaten, and we'll have to go from there. And then I also kind of hinted a little bit about Tuck getting stoned yesterday.
Edibles, I'm assuming?
No. Let me chew this real
What?
quick.
Yeah. Holy shit. I threw a roadmap into the chat as well.
Perfect. I appreciate that. I can see that off to the side there. So
Perfect.
I needed to chew this up a little bit so I could shove it up in my gum. Reminds me of, chewing old Big League.
Oh boy. Oh
I'm
boy.
For those who
You
can
know,
hear
it's
me
almost been a
chewing, I'm
year since I
sorry,
quit
but
dip. Hard to
oh yeah,
believe, but yeah,
nice.
still think about it every day.
I'm eating grape high
Welcome.
chew right now, by the way, so that's what's going on. But Tuck's okay. Tuck got into something yesterday morning. We think he either ate a roach or ate some of my concentrate, and he was stony baloney all day. He only got sick once. He didn't have any seizures, so I was monitoring the whole day. But yeah, he almost cost us $1,000 just because the vet to be told he's high.
Wow. That's I wish I could tell you that hasn't happened to me before. It definitely happened with Posey once in particular that I can remember. I was like working, I went to my editor's house in Watsonville and I left Posey in the car. And I just picked up like a compassion bag from Santa Cruz Vets Alliance. She gets into the front seat. She starts like digging away. By the time I get out, she's eaten like 60 milligrams worth of THC cookies. She had a long night. I'm not going to lie. She's a lot
Luckily,
less willing to steal food now, though.
I bet we're kind of
Yeah.
surprised Tuck is stealing or foraging, as we call it. I call it, and been told to call it for service dogs. But yeah, he usually doesn't do that. He's very well trained, and I usually stay on top of him from keeping him from doing that. But yeah, every once in a while, he evidently found some lemon loaf, is what my wife says, that is a favorite of his. Don't look at me as the weak link for why he gets lemon loaf.
Well,
But
that
he
kind of
does
leads
love
us
his lemon loaf.
into one of our topics. So, first of all, let me welcome everybody. We did a nice cold open to today's show. Welcome back to, I think today's episode is going to be a pitch by pitch episode, but we're going to release it on Cap. I am joined today. My name is George Paul Shepler. I am your host, aka Schep, aka GP Shepler, aka that dude. Um, Today, I am joined by a man known by many names, a man who has at times been called the Shreddy Yeti, a man who has at times been called low key homeless, a man who has gone through many different, we'll say, metamorphoses, like a butterfly throughout his career and his life. But today he is called a world champion. I am joined by world champion Joseph D. Jackson. Joe, how are you, dude? Congratulations on your world championship. Holy
Thank
shit.
you. I feel blessed to be a part of a team that had a very competitive surfer that was able to win a world championship and to be an integral part about that. And yeah, it was really fun. It's pretty still surreal, even when random people just like, "Oh yeah, you're the world champ." I forget about that.
The
People
reigning
that
world
know me, but
champion.
Yeah, it's kind of fun. It's been fun surfing ever since then. I think Jose's pretty fired up and pumped up and ready to hit his next level in stride. So yeah, it's exciting.
And we're going to
Didn't I?
get totally into stories about the World Championships. But just to give everybody at home a quick little insight, we're also going to be talking about some new boards that Joe has. Joanna has some very exciting news, which I'll just spill right now. We may or may not have talked about this on the air before, but we are both expecting children in the next 5 weeks. So we are very
Probably.
excited for
I'm betting in the next 2 weeks for mine. I'm just
Yeah, I was gonna
saying.
say probably like 3 to 4 weeks, 2 to 4 weeks. We're also gonna talk a little bit about some new technology that I've picked up because I've recently acquired a new laptop and invested in some new lighting, and people seem to enjoy the tech talk. We're gonna talk a little bit about sports, and at the very, very end, I'm gonna nerd out and talk about the release of the new Warhammer 3 game for Total War because I'm a huge nerd. But I'm gonna put that at the end because most people won't care. But I really want to get into this world championship and I want to tell the whole story and I want to tell it with you. So I think that it has to start by Joe, can you just really quickly clarify like what exactly did you guys win in a world championship? What event was it? And
Well,
who is like the certifying agency?
I can do that. Um, One of the things I was going to say is, didn't pretty early on I told you one time that I was going to become a world champion? You're like, yeah, you got a lot of work to do. I'm like, yeah, I agree. It'll take a few
Yeah,
years.
like I think it was
I'm
like the
pretty
first
sure
time
that,
you ever came to Monterey and we trained at CrossFit Monterey and you were like, I'm going to be a world champ. And I was like, cool, close your eyes, balance on your right foot. And you couldn't do it for 5 seconds. And I was like, it's going to take a while, dude. This is going to take a little bit of time.
yeah, I was also trying to prepare for a different world championship then. Some background that some people don't know is I have a big competitive swimming background. I actually got into master swimming in the mid teen 2000s. I don't know what that exact term is for that period of time, but it was around in there, and I actually qualified for nationals for you. I swam national qualifying times and went to U.S. Masters Nationals, and then subsequently, because I had good times from there, I actually qualified for Worlds. So, about 7, 8 years ago, almost now, I was training for World Championships and decided to break my
And to
foot,
clarify,
and
that
then
would be under USA Swimming, right?
that would be FINA World Championships. So
Okay.
FINA World Championships. It was actually going to be in Montreal. That was 2014, is what that was. So that kind of led me into here because of that swimming background and then me just being in the ocean. Now, what I actually won a world championship with was an ISA, and that stands for International Surf Association, and they're kind of the almost Olympic governing body of surfing, kind of like what FINA is for aquatics and a few other large agencies I can't think of off the top of my head. But we surfed the para surfing world championships, and para it could also be switched out with adaptive. So everyone has different adaptabilities, and there's a lot of different categories within that realm and world championships. Like there are guys that are missing, part of their leg below the knee. There are some people that are completely blind. There are some people that are full on quadriplegics who are out there surfing. So it's a wide gamut of different abilities and levels of surfing that were just really cool to see. I specifically was a part of a team, and there are a few categories where the surfer is allowed to have a coach in the water, I believe is what we call them, what we call ourselves, our coaches, I think, on paper. um, some of them are for seeing for the visually impaired, and then there's another category called prone 2, which I surf in with Jose. And so Jose is considered a prone surfer. He doesn't have the ability to stand up traditionally on 2 feet like I do. And so, with his abilities and adaptabilities, he rides prone, so he rides on his belly. For, I guess, lack of a better term, if you don't know what prone is, it's on your belly, and I am able to assist him getting into the wave and assist him getting out to the waves. For ISA, they allow two people to assist. So there's one person on the inside, another coach on the inside, usually called the catcher, and then the coach on the outside is usually called the pusher. It's kind of simple terms that we use right now. There's no official terms yet, so we'll
Just real
probably.
quickly for everybody at home, because it's the Winter Olympics right now, just to put a little context here, and I'm not going to take anything away from the catchers, but the difference between the pusher and catcher in terms of their ability to influence the outcome of the event, it's the difference between being everybody else on a bobsled team or being the dude at the very front, in terms of the fact that like the catcher's responsibility is to anticipate, and I'm just going to spitball here, Joe. If I'm way off, tell me if I'm wrong. Catcher's responsibility is to anticipate where that rider is going to end up and be there to assist them, turn them around so they can get back out and catch the next wave and transport them to the pusher. Whereas the pusher, talk a little bit about like what strategy goes into what you do when you're out there.
Well, I catch as well, and I have done catching, and I actually won bronze medal catching the previous year with Jose. The catcher's job, yeah, is exactly what you said. They're almost the brakeman in a four-man bobsled or three-man bobsled team, where you kind of they're almost in brakeman. They kind of have to predict what the pusher's going to do and different things like that, but they're not quite the integral part the pusher has. The pusher has a lot of influence into wave selection and heat strategy. So a lot of the tactics you see on the World Surf League with Kelly Slater and Gabriel Medina and Italo Ferreira, some of these world champions, that John Florence even, part of their game isn't just getting to their feet and riding. Part of it's getting onto the wave, and there's a lot of strategy that comes into that. Um, I basically have been working with Jose since 2018, and I just teach him what I look for in waves and try to how to predict what wave is going to be the best wave for the highest scoring potential. Really, is what we go for. We go for the bombs,
But
and
there's
we
also
just
some bait and switch that happens too out there, right?
yeah. Japan pissed me off this year. They were playing games in the finals. There's a reason they got the place they got. They were trying to basically sit really deep on the peak and come behind the peak and try to catch the wave last minute, and almost in a sense of not sit wide where the shoulder actually was, where the majority of the surfers were taken off at. They were kind of sitting on the inside because they had what's called priority. There's a priority system with all the surfers out there that dictates who has first right to, we'll say, first right to refusal of a wave or to take a wave. And they had priority, and what they were trying to do was get us on a priority penalty. Basically, if we get in their way of a scoring potential and we get basically block them from scoring more points, that we would get an interference. And depending on how it worked and the intentionality, there's different levels of it, but it could cost us either half or a full score in the heat, which is huge. That happened the other day with Kelly Slater and a different surfer at Sunset Beach. It's happened
And at
a couple,
Oceanside, right? Wasn't there an interference call at Oceanside that ended up being pretty critical?
I guess in the semifinals, yeah, we we played this priority card, but that's a different. I was going after a different strategy for that, but yes, that was I did. Yes, in a way. Um,
Sorry, I just asked because for the layman, like when you first started saying like there's a strategy to surfing,
there
that
is.
didn't really click with me because like with snowboarding or skateboarding, you're trying to like land tricks that are consistent in areas that you can consistently hit them, right? Because you don't want to bail. Whereas with surfing, you guys don't get penalized for bailing on a wave, do you?
If you don't ride out of it, you don't get as much of a scoring potential out of it. If you ride out of it and are in control, you get maximum scoring potential. So you'll get docked some points. That's a place because this contest, Sunset Beach, the Hurley Pro, just recently happened, and this is notorious for Sunset that you can get taken off your feet, but if you still make the turn and then get blown off your feet, you won't lose as many points if you turn during the criticality part of the wave, and you lose more points for that. Or if you ride out longer and show that you're in control, complete control, and ride out of it, then you get the highest scoring potential. Um, with priority, there's a lot of importance because you don't want to get in someone's scoring potential wave. So this year at Worlds, Japan basically was trying to bait us into it, and I drew them into a wave really deep, and then acted like I was going to go to force them to go and send them on a crappier wave, and then I kicked out real hard and got Jose onto probably one of his world championship waves, but
Yeah, I
one of the
remember
ones
that
that
wave.
counted towards the end. But in Oceanside, what happened is somebody else thought they had priority when in fact I knew we had priority. We were on the inside of them in a better spot on the wave to take the shoulder to be able to go longer because they were trying to shoot the peak. We were just trying to go off of the peak. They were on the wave. They were calling us off of it, but that's because they didn't quite understand how the priority worked and understood that if we, even though they're on the wave, we can still go because we have priority. So even if there's a non-priority rider on the wave already, we can just burn them in competition if we have priority on them, and they're going to get penalized for that too. So that's what happened in Oceanside. So that's what I mean. Like that's two different extremes of priority examples for
Well, thank you for
strategy
going
for
through that
surfing.
because I can't be the only person that does not get that. That didn't
Yeah,
understand that
I
going into it.
sometimes I wish I could bring Ryan on. He explains it very eloquently and he understands that part of the competitive surfing. A lot of our surfers that we do coaching with and work with a lot of coaches, that's what they really specifically work on. It's maybe not so much the technique and the turn, which that comes in at times, but it's the strategy of surfing. And yeah, there's a lot to it. A lot to it that
I think you
may
just
not
booked our
be.
next guest, Joe. Why don't we do
Yeah,
Ryan?
I think he'd be a great one to bring on. I think he's a great coach. I think he's also a great competitor. You could hear about what it's like to be a coach for a visually impaired surfer. But yeah, he'd be one that would be good to talk to. I think they got a silver medal this year at Worlds, 2 years in a row, by
Yeah,
the
and
way.
between the two of you, like that's a lot of perspective and experience. You guys work with a lot of different adaptive riders around the state, and I would be very. I mean, he works with Team Canada. You're part of Team USA. Speaking
Yeah,
of Team USA, what does it mean? Like now that the Olympics have officially accepted surfing into the 2028 games, does that mean that para surfing is automatically adopted, or what happens now?
the next step has been reached. It's not that it's automatically adopted into the Paralympics yet, but we are expecting it to, mainly because with Olympics and Paralympics, if the Olympics offers it and there's a Paralympic equivalent, the Paralympics are supposed to offer it, which there is because of the work with the ISA and a lot of other different countries and organizations like USA Surfing. They've built this ability for that to happen. So, yeah, it's pretty. I think it's a pretty big deal. I like telling people I'm on the surfing national team sometimes. It's kind of fun.
That's a big deal. Of course, it's a big deal, dude. I mean, first of all, like you have the opportunity to win a medal at the Olympic level, at the Paralympic level, but on a much deeper level, like you get to be a part of the first, potentially the first ever Olympics. Like that's history. You guys win that, you become a trivia question in bars for
Yes,
millennia.
yes, exactly. And that it's going to be a very special thing. 2028 is 6 years away, so we got a lot of work and growth to do. But I think Jose has that competitive spirit and wants to keep going, and I'm willing to keep staying healthy and keep trying to finely tune my fitness and ability to allow him to do the maximum he can do. Because I've joked for a while that Jose's been keeping me honest and forcing me to get in the gym and doing yoga and walking more just to be able to keep up with him as well as he does in the water, which is fun.
Well,
It's
you
a
look like a
fun.
different person compared to the person that you that I met when we first met 10 almost 10 years ago.
I feel like I got hit by a train about 3 weeks ago because I got sick, but yes, I
Yeah, you got the
definitely.
vid, right?
Yeah, that was a whole different thing. Um, I have definitely. It seems like my body's always in a state of flux where it's either gaining or losing, getting stronger or weaker. I think I'm in a period where I'm rebuilding and getting stronger. I definitely, I think about almost 2 years ago now, I lost a ton of weight trying to clean up my diet and just really fix my gut. It really wasn't any other reason but just to try to fix my gut. And I got pretty leaned out, pretty skinny, which has its own advantages and disadvantages in the water. And lately, I've been
Namely
working on
temperature.
temperature regulations. Very tough on my body. For some reason, my brain injury seems to just not regulate my temperature well, even if I'm out of the water, like running around or cycling. I've done a lot of cycling in my life and some marathon running and things like endurance sports kind of stuff. And yeah, it's a different.
So overall, like, I mean, how does winning a world championship and like real quick, let me just add a little context to what happened in Pismo because I drove down, you guys drove up, we met in Pismo, you guys had a house.
Well, you
Um,
showed up like 3 days late.
Yes, you're
Ah,
right. I came 3 days late. I had to stick around for some stupid
it's okay.
medical appointments and get, like, a
They were
bunch of
very
MRIs.
they were important things, yes, and that's what I was
Yeah,
gonna say. There
yeah,
were some legit imaging that takes a long time to schedule, and it's hard to schedule because I believe you got
for
up at
sure.
4:30 in the morning to go
But
get these things
definitely,
done.
like, I rolled in that morning and, like, to see the progression that you guys went through and to see, like, one thing that I've been really impressed with prone surfing is how much of an audience it draws. Part of that is because of the size of the support teams, but I think that, like, when you see a paraplegic surf, and you see that stoke and you see that joy, I just think that that has a different level of transcendence. I mean, you and I bump into this at One More Wave. It's a lot easier for people to see visible wounds and associate those with a particular, like, level of intensity or disability. It was honestly, like, I hate to use the word inspirational because it's just not the right word to use in this case, but it was. I felt so much hope for the future getting to go to like 3 or 4 different adaptive surfing events this past year and like see the youth that's coming into the sport, see the variety that exists in the sport. Prone surfing is super exciting. There's a lot of different adaptive surfers out there that are doing some really cool and impressive shit. Like what now let's talk about a couple people in particular. What's the name of the young woman? She's on a young girl. She's on Team USA, but she's recently been getting featured a lot on like Surfline and stuff.
I believe you're talking about Liv.
Liv, yes, that is correct.
She has the
She's got
double
to be,
congenital arm something. I forget the name of it. But basically,
yes.
she can't, for lack of better terms, you're not watching the video or haven't seen Liv. She can't, she basically can't zip up her wetsuits very well because her arms are so small. So if you can imagine how tough it is for her to paddle and get into waves.
Well, she also wears paddle assists out there, doesn't she?
I don't know if she wears those for competitiveness, but during actual competition, but I know she will wear basically swim paddles. I think they're a hybrid of Speedo or Stroke Master kind of swim paddles. So think something that's a little bit larger than a normal hand for her size. And basically, they put those on her arms as kind of prosthetics to help her be able to paddle into the waves more easily. Once she's on the wave, she's good, but paddling is
Yeah,
definitely a
she's
struggle for her. I think her arms are not even 8 to 10 inches long for people to
and
kind of
and
have that as a concept.
and like she has an absolutely magnetic smile. She's got an electric style when she's on the wave. She's got very aggressive turns. She's got very, I mean, like, she's only going to get better and stronger and faster as time goes on, I think. At least that's my perception of it. And when I see young athletes like that have crossover marketable capabilities, just like Jose has, just like a lot of other adaptive surfers that we've met have, that crossover is what like brings your sport into the big money. Like, for example, 2 days or did you watch the Super Bowl at all, Joe?
The what? The Super Bowl?
Did you watch the
Sorry,
Super Bowl at all?
no, I don't have a TV, bro.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Toyota ran a Olympic para Olympic and para surfing promotion. It looked like during the Olympics or during the Super Bowl, right? When it's like
I
$7
didn't know
million
that.
for 15 seconds. Yeah. And
So
it was
this was
like,
like surfing, like USA surfing?
no, 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 no. It, it said it was Toyota working with Team USA para athletes.
Okay, because that's why I was asking about surfing or if it's all sports. Because yes,
No,
I'm you, Team Toyota, which is its own entity within the Toyota brand, but Team Toyota is a big sponsor of the Paralympic athletes, period. They do a lot of Paralympic sports. That is not just surfing, but that's also snowboarding. This is like your traditional Olympic sports and everything. Team Toyota this year came on board with Team USA as a part of our Paralympic surf program to help sponsor us. So that's why I was asking in the surfing if in the commercial if it was surfing or all the sports. But I do know Team Toyota has been a huge sponsor of the Paralympic community and just adaptive sports in general. But it's
well,
cool that they put that out there on the Super Bowl too. That's huge.
exactly. The most watched event of the year every year. And it got prime billing, and it kind of made me excited. And by the way, Toyota is able to do that when they have compelling stories, compelling characters that they can put on screen to help sell more cars, obviously. Now, I mean, like, let's
Yes.
not think that this is altruistic. However, having said that, like, when I was young, skateboarding was not a multi-million or billion-dollar a year industry, or snowboarding. Now both industries are. Adaptive surfing, to for it to continue to grow and expand, it's just going to need to have some of those crossover hits. As Jose has appeared on the cover of the health section of the New York Times now, like, how, for you as his coach slash teammate, how does that crossover influence his ability to stay prepared? Because, like, it's the famous line from boxing, right? It's a lot harder to wake up at 4 a.m. and train when you're sleeping in silk sheets in a mansion.
Um,
Not
I
saying
think
Jose's living on silk sheets in a mansion quite yet, but
I think for Jose, he lives uh, intentionally, and I think one of his goals is to go to the Paralympics and win gold. So I think that helps keep that fire going. He's gone through ups and downs, and I'm not going to say we're going to spend the next 6 years winning every single competition we go to, but definitely we're going to be fighting our way through them for the next, 6, 8 years. And I think there is a young juniors team that's now starting to come into adulthood that's going to be really amazing to watch through adaptive surfing. Liv is one of them. I hope to see Faith out there more. Faith rips. She's missing part of one of her arms. I don't remember exactly why, but she just absolutely just rips out there, and just most people don't even like put together that she's a parasurfer or adaptive surfer, because she goes to so many able body contests and just beats the able bodies so well. Like, she outsurfs me in circles and laughs at me when I go out surfing with her. So it's
and
quite
then there's
fun.
Victoria from Canada, right? She's really good. She's got a great personality to cross over.
Um, yes. Sorry, I had
Sorry,
like
I'm
three
just
other
pulling
people, and
random names.
you
I
you
just
threw me
derailed
in a
you.
completely different. Yeah, I don't even know what's happening anymore. I'm sorry.
My bad. Well, let me put a button on that real
I
quick
was
with this
the
with this
problem
question.
was is the problem was is I was going through a certain junior surf team that I had,
Totally.
because there's like 6 or 7 athletes. Like, there's Parker. I mean, there's so many different athletes that are in so many different categories. But I think there are a lot of women that can have very successful surf campaigns. Victoria is definitely one of them. She's Team Canada. What threw me off with Victoria is she's actually, I believe, already a Paralympic medalist. So she was in like a different category to me. I think she's on a different level. She has surfed so many different adaptive surf categories. I really respect it, because I think she started off on like a wave ski or goat boat. I don't know exactly what the official term is. I think we'll call it wave ski. The Australians call it goat boats, and that's why I bring that up in case we have some Australian listeners. And she actually ripped on those things. Then she got into prone, and I think this year she did kneeling in the worlds, which is really amazing to see her progression. But I want to say she has been in the at least the Winter Olympics, possibly with hockey or something like that, like a very
I think you
accomplished
mentioned
athlete
that.
on her own before adaptive surfing. We actually have a number of athletes that are like that. We have Alana, I forget her last name. I should get on Instagram and just look it up. She is awesome. She is one of the few dual Olympic sport medalists, meaning she has a Summer Games medal and a Winter Games medal. And this is without surfing. She comes into surfing just as an athlete and really has done some amazing things. I mean, it's really cool to see the wide variety from the older statesmen like Bruno, who have been surfing for 40 years of their life, and now they're starting to, you know, have more fun with just the ability to go surf and basically get paid to go do that and earn a good living working hard doing that. So it's really cool to see. And yeah, Ryan and I are definitely excited to see the future. And we have a few nonprofits him and I both work with. We work with all kinds of athletes that are in all kinds of different levels and categories, and we really love to see it grow. I think one of the things Ryan and I actually do complain about is there's not enough mentorship for the younger starting athletes. It seems like once you're about 15 and you are surfing, we can take you and go from there and really adapt a lot of athletes from there and mold them into the athletes they'll become where they've been winners. But I think before that introduction stuff just quite isn't there yet, and that's where we're hoping to expand. And yeah, I think as it gets more notoriety, more people are going to start coming out. I think you're going to start seeing a lot of Midwestern and East Coast adaptive writers start coming out of the woodworks that have always been there, they just didn't know this existed. So I think we could have a really cool bright future. And the cool thing is all of them have such amazing stories that are just so different. That's what I think is cool. It's not just a bunch of well, I'll use this as an example. We're not just a bunch of combat vets sitting there who had been blown up or shot at or whatnot. Had we have gone through and the rigmarole, it's a wide variety of people that have just lived this with their whole lives because they're born with it or something happened tragic through their life, and this is what they've made the best of it with. So it's really cool to see. It's really amazing.
Totally. I mean, I think that there were like 23 or 25 different countries represented at World Championships this year. And that was even with COVID, with restrictions that got a lot tighter over the winter. So, very excited to see what happens to the sport. Before we move on from the World Championship, I want to ask you one last quick scoring question. Um, there's that popular expression to be the man, you have to beat the man. In the past, the reigning world champion does seem to have a level of, I don't know, gravitas with the judges. Do you think that this will make it harder or easier to win contests in 2022? Will the expectations be higher for you guys on every single like event?
They always are, yeah, especially when you win a world championship. Um, the other gentleman you're talking about, he just surfed a V-land the other day, which is just mind blowing to me on the North Shore during a heavy swell. I mean, he rips, and I think a lot of that depends on where you're being judged at. I don't want to say who's judging you, but at least the geographical areas. I believe the judging. I don't want to say the judging's different in the mainland of the USA versus Hawaii, but it is. But that's just because the surfing's different and the surf's different, and there's a lot of factors to it, not just the surfer who had been there for the last 25 years surfing competitively. So it's it's different. It's also we talk a lot about with our athletes learning how to surf what the judges are looking for. A
We
lot of
meaning
times
Team
Ryan
USA?
a lot of times Ryan and I like watching the first heat of the day so we know what the judges are going to score for that day, because the judges have to score basically equally through the whole day. And once we get an idea of what the judges are looking for, or luckily for Ryan and I, with our surfing understanding, we can take any category and know where the judges are going to be at for that day. They usually kind of a little bit different in Hawaii than they are here because it's different judging and the surf is much different. So I think it allows for different levels of criticality and things like that. I think local knowledge plays a big difference in going a lot of places. Part of the reason Jose and I do what we do is, or do as well as we do, is we go and spend time at these places. I literally will watch surf cams for hours on the background while I'm working. I'll have it on my iPad playing, and I'll just sit there and I'll watch the surf break that we're going to go to for like 8 months ahead of time. And I'll literally watch it for 8 hours a day. Just sit there and watch the ocean, just because I want to
Surfline,
know
I'm
what it's going to
assuming.
do. Yeah, Surfline. There's a few other. There's some places that there aren't Surfline cameras that I have access to cameras to. Thankfully,
The
I'm
fuck
allowed to
does
have
that
it.
mean?
I means you have to have a login, and they know you're watching their certain camera, and they only allow you to have a certain angle of their house, but you can get angles of really good surf spots if you know people and you're kind to them.
Wow. What a hookup.
Get
Sounds
lucky sometimes. It's not about not about what you know, it's who you know. Old Navy trick I learned a very long time ago. It's not about what you know, it's about who you know and
well.
what you can get written in paper.
I think we did a pretty good job covering the World Championship. Tell me a little bit about these new boards, because when we talked earlier today before the show, you were like, I don't know if I'm going to be making any expenditures for a while because you just got loaded
Well,
up with some new fiber.
oh, like new foam. I have we talked about my other boards that I've already built. We've
We
talked
still
about
have
those, I
not
think.
done a deep dive on like the board building process, I don't think.
Not too much, but I have built a couple boards, so I do seem to get a steady stream of boards lately. Latest batch, there was a San Diego Shaper that I put an order with, but I never gave a deposit to, so I never expected a board back from. And because normally they're like, hey, I'll come back to you if I need a deposit, I'll tell you. And he never asked for one, so I just didn't expect to get a board. And then randomly, I was like, "Hey," from a friend of mine. He was like, "Hey, buddy, I think your board might actually be ready pretty soon. So whenever you're not sick, reach out to the guy." And so I have one new surfboard built by a San Diego shaper coming in, and then about a year ago, a friend of myself and my landlord, for lack of a better term, he's really a good friend of mine. So I like using the word landlord on him just to kind of stick him in the ribs a little bit.
Keep
He's
him
a
in his
really
place.
awesome guy. But him and I were talking about splitting the cost of buying a friend of ours surfboard because he has a special surfboard built by a San Diego shaper that's special that you can't just walk in and order a board from this guy. He has to basically offer to build you a board because he's so busy. And they're also insanely expensive. I probably have surfboards I can sell for the cost of used cars that would probably, get me by for the next 5 to 10 years.
Used cars pre or during pandemic, because those are two
Uh,
very different price status at this point.
Under 5 grand, but definitely
Okay, fair enough.
pre-pandemic. You would have gotten something pretty sweet if I sold them all the boards at once. But yeah, I got so luckily I had permission from my wife. She kind of knows that I have like 4 or 5 deposits out there to different shapers, and in the surfer
Prior
world,
commitments.
yeah, there are surfer shapers that literally you'll take 5 to 10 years to get a surfboard out of, but they're just busy, and some of them warn you, some of them don't, but a few of them have warned me. So I'm waiting for the days in the next 5 years that I just get a call, like, hey, your such and such board's done. You're gonna come pick it up, and I'll be like, yes, I'll be there tomorrow. And it's the weird thing with surfing, but luckily my wife is gracious. She is very kind. So usually when they come up, she's good with me getting them. I usually do sell boards too. I let go of other boards that I just don't ride well or don't like riding or I can't ride well. You could probably say either one. But yeah, I do. I'm getting a brand used one, which I've used a couple times and I really love the board. And then I get a brand new one that didn't really expect, but it's going to have all the bells and whistles and getting it for a pretty good price. So I'm excited, even though I'll probably sell it in a couple of months.
Congratulations, dude. That's
It,
got to be exciting. I mean, it's funny. I actually just ordered a new pair of fins a couple days ago because I blew out my Van Mellens, dude, when I was surfing at It's with Artie the other day.
have you emailed the fuck ups to Starkey yet?
No, 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 no. It's just the pads, not the whole fin.
Oh,
Yeah, I
fair enough.
just need to reglue the pads. So I'm gonna get
If
myself.
anyone
I Go
I
ahead.
say that because if anyone destroys a set of yuccas, like you actually break a strap, Starkey wants to know. Starkey wants pictures. I'm not saying he's going to give you new fins. He probably won't. He'll probably tell you fuck off and go buy some. Okay, but he wants to know the pictures and the stories behind broken straps on yuccas because they don't break. That's
Yeah.
why I said that.
And I love yuccas. Unfortunately, they're giving me these like big bony spurs on my feet.
Because you're
And
wearing
I
them too
still can.
small.
No, I went up. Remember,
Yeah, I know.
I'm like
You
as
finally
it
did.
is, they're a little too big for me. I just have weird feet.
Yeah,
But yeah,
exactly.
I'm gonna get myself a pair of MS Vipers, or I ordered myself a pair of MS Vipers, the bright yellow ones with the blue dot, just because they'll stick out well. They'll have a nice contrast.
Yeah.
And I like MS Vipers as much as I love yuccas, and I've only worn yuccas for about 2 years now. Like I do like switching up my fins every now and then. So, nice little excuse. But for the people listening at home, Joe left like I don't know a small army of Finns at my house, and now that like we're gonna have kids, we're both trying to clear out a little bit of space. So for the listeners of this podcast, I'll start posting some pictures on my story on Instagram at le_orca. And if you want to put in an offer on a pair of fins, let me know. We'll be selling them at very reasonable rates. And what I think we'll do is whatever money we raise from selling these fins, we'll just donate that directly to One More Wave. What do you think, Joe? How's that sound?
I was gonna say, or just charge them the cost of shipping.
Ooh, that's a good idea too. But let's do a little
Either one.
fundraising for One More Wave. It's a good cause. Everybody wants to support your local neighborhood department. Tell me a little bit about these boards you ordered. Like how long are we talking? How like
How
is
long
there
in
anything unique or special?
how long in length or how long I've waited? Ha.
A little bit of column A, a little bit of column B. I
Uh,
mean, obviously you mentioned one
uh,
of these is being made by a super invitation only shaper.
yeah, there's a gentleman named Skip Fry in San Diego. He's a longtime surf legend, amazing surfer, amazing board builder. He's basically
Even
the
I've
type
heard of
that,
him.
yeah, you have to get permission from him to order a board, and if he doesn't like your board order, he won't make it either. It's kind of, if he's got his niche and his circle and his little thing, but his boards are amazing to ride. He has a unique style of board that fits my style and I like riding. They're called big boards or gliders for some people. Basically, it's a like a giant longboard that's pulled in almost like a gun, but it doesn't have as much nose and tail rocker, so it really flies almost above the waves, kind of like a pelican does. I think one of the shapers call his gliders pelicans, but the one that is here at the house, a friend of my landlord Chris and I, we both have a buddy that ordered a 10-foot egg, which is kind of just the what Chris and I think is kind of the ultimate San Diego board. It's a big board, but it's not something too big like 11 or 12 foot that is unwieldy in the surf. You can still definitely weave around people and have a lot of fun. So it's a special board, and really we're trying to just keep it in the family. That's why we're telling our buddy like, hey, anytime you want to buy this thing back, we'll happily sell it back to you. This is
That's
still going
cool.
to be your board. We're just going to surf the crap out of it and not feel bad about it. And that way the other boards in the garage don't make fun of it, because that's what we keep telling them is all the boards in the garage are making fun of it because it never gets ridden. And anytime it gets ridden, we get in trouble for it. So that's a
At some
special
point
board we're
before you move
getting.
out of there, I need to come down there and photograph that board
Probably
garage.
need you to
That
photograph
garage is
my
pretty
whole,
cool.
like, yeah, probably my quiver would be worth just getting recorded on film and have some
Do that
fun
with a
with, and
drone.
do some drone stuff with it too. But the other board I'm getting is another big board, another glider, but it's from San Diego's best shaper. He'll tell you that. I love the man. He's hilarious. Stu Kinson is a very gifted shaper. I will probably say yes, he's definitely in the top San Diego shapers. Very much, maybe not in some of the niche realms like Skip Fry is or some of the other shapers, but if you need a board, Stu can probably build almost anything. If it's a short board, competitive little 511 Twinser rocket fish thing, all the way up to like a Mavericks gun. There's a surfer named JoJo Roper who rides a lot of Stu Kinson's boards, and Stu used to work for Rusty and a bunch of different San Diego shapers. So he has his version of a glider, which will be about 10 foot 1 inch. 10 foot 1 inch, and this should be pretty special because says it has all the bells and whistles. To clarify what that is, on a surfboard, when I ask for all the bells and whistles, I have a two-tone or an abstract color. I usually ask for volant glass, which means it has to be cut lapped, which is an extra step and extra work. Plus, the fabric itself is different and saturates. The color saturates different, so it's more cost involved because more resin and work is involved with it. I also asked for pin lines, which is more work, some certain leash loops and some things. Just kind of really customized the board just to be a really rad board that I just, you know, why not?
Nothing basic about Joe.
No, an interesting thing is like these bells and whistles add like $200 or $300, and someone's like, I don't get why you're gonna pay an extra $200 or $300 for all that stuff. It's like, well, it's because I buy this board and I don't ever have to buy it again. I
Buy
literally
once,
will
cry
just,
once.
yeah, I'll buy it if I ever kill it, like snap it in half bad enough, and I can't repair it to come back perfect. I just have Stu make me another one. But until then, I just ride that thing until it's beat to death because that's just what you do. It's your surfboards die no matter what, so you might as well have fun beating them to death instead of letting them die on your wall.
Yeah. I mean, that was actually my thought process when I decided to like invest in buying a new laptop because as much as I have enjoyed the desktop that I built, I am I am still a freelance journalist, so I do travel to cover stuff, and it's nice to be able to edit on the fly, and get work done. But I actually did a ton of research, and like originally was just going to get a basic one of the new MacBook Pros, but ended up upgrading for two reasons. One, because the American economic system is completely weird, and you have to take on more debt to raise your credit score at a certain point. And since I would like to get a house at some point in my life, I do need to get my credit score as high as humanly possible.
They got to make
So I
sure you're
ended up
actually
going,
going to pay your bills on time. That's all they care about. So as long as you have a good track history of that. But yeah, it's kind of a
yeah.
weird system.
Well, I'm at the point where like I only had one line of credit active, and so I had to have multiple lines of credit. So anyway, long story short, ended up going with the M1 Max laptop, 14-inch. It's freaking unreal. Like it to go from working on a MacBook Air for so long. And I mean, I loved the PC laptop that I used, which I ended up selling for exactly what I paid for it. So it was like a zero cost to have that laptop for a year and a half. And then the desktop, which has been really fun and awesome and a great tool, but to like, I don't know. It's I also recently just invested. I think I invested a total of $600. I bought like this huge 42-inch octo box with like a egg crate on it. I'm like pointing at it right now. For the people listening, you can go on YouTube because of this new system that we have called Zencaster. We're going to be able to do video and audio for all of our episodes. So you may notice that my video looks particularly crispy. That's because I have a professional light that I can control from my phone. And then I got like a cool like lantern top for it, so I can create columnar light and stuff like that. And yeah, man, I mean, it's always scary. I mean, since we have kids right around the corner, it's always scary spending a ton of money. But the great thing about doing like photography and freelance and stuff like that is like if I can sell some services, if I can sell some glamour shots and some headshots and stuff, I can pay the equipment off fairly quickly. Plus, like you were saying, you can always flip it. You know, there's always the opportunity to take that and then sell it down the road. But for me, I'm very proud of the fact that I got as far as I did on like a $700 camera pack and like a $50 light and a $30 softbox. Every now and then, as you progress in your professional career, you have to spend money on your equipment. And let's just say that after months of research, I'm really excited to finally like have all the tools that I need, like audio tools. I hope I sound good. If I don't sound good, the audience should let me know because I spent money on like a Focusrite so that I have a MIDI DAC so I have better. Like I would really like in 2022 for us, be it on Pitch by Pitch or Coastal Athlete Program, to just have a higher quality of content, have it available both visually and audio only, right? And then, of course, that next step is just kind of progressing our storytelling because we have access to so many great people. And Joe, you have become so much more comfortable with interviewing people and handling stuff. Like when we have Ryan on, you're probably going to drive, I would imagine, right? And I'll just be there for clarification and be the fly on the wall.
Probably because I know Ryan so well. Yeah, I'll probably end up driving that one around to steer him some certain different ways. But yeah,
Exactly. And like that's really exciting. You've invested in your equipment over the years. Your audio quality has significantly increased. We no longer have to listen to your beard. Hopefully people won't be hearing me breathe anymore. Like little things, you know, and we appreciate the audience for bearing with us through all this. But I think as I've progressed through like this professional development thing, and as I continue to do freelance work with the school or with individuals or with companies and do content creation or the work that I do for One More Wave, the one thing that's been super consistent through all of it is you hit these periods where like you level up, right? Like you have your work before this moment and after this moment, and it definitely feels like I've hit that point now. Joe, did I lose you? Because your camera has completely frozen. Oh no, I think
no,
Joe timed
you
out.
didn't
Oh,
lose
there he
me.
is.
I mean, I wasn't moving and I was looking down and I was muted. So,
Oh yeah, no. It froze on my end. I can still hear you though, but it's cool because it's still recording on your end. All right. Enough about my tech. Impending fatherhood. What is your biggest fear about becoming a dad? Go.
I have no clue. I haven't even gotten that far. I guess probably because I haven't had the time to really sit on that or have to think about that because my wife and I we've had a very long pregnancy. We'll say it that way. It's been a very long 14 months process for us. So I think for us, we're so preoccupied with other things because we've had several trips to the hospital not many people know about to get some monitoring and some things done. And it seems like we're always moving and shaking. So I haven't quite gotten there. Maybe when she gets here, I could tell you what my what my biggest fear will be, but I don't even know if I've even gotten to that base yet. What
Joe's
about
having a
you?
girl. I'm having a boy, by the way, for clarification at home.
Yep.
My biggest fear is the delivery process. I just want my wife to be okay and safe through the whole thing. That's my biggest fear. Second only to uh, taking care of it. So it's looking like I'm probably going to step up since I have a much more flexible work schedule and be Mr. Mom after my wife's maternity leave is up because she has an awesome career and I want to support that. But again, because my schedule is so flexible, it gives me the opportunity to do that. I think I am a little afraid of. I am a person who thrives on routine, and I know that babies also thrive on routine. But building that routine, much like when Posey was a puppy, is very difficult and very stressful, and there's not a lot of sleep and there's a lot of pressure. So I'm definitely like trying to be cognizant. Like I tried to start talk therapy again, just trying to do all these little things. I started going on a prescription medication just to like find a way to be better able to like manage that involuntary response to a situation, no matter how many pressure sources I feel. You and I have done a lot of work on ourselves personally, be it through therapies or medications or retreats or alternative therapies. We've both done a lot of work and we've come a long way. um, I think it's just like recognizing, for example, I stopped taking any sleep aids a week ago or 2 weeks ago. The first week was awful. This past week, I've actually slept better for the last 5 days and gotten like 6 to 8 hours of sleep, whereas before I was
Good.
getting like 2 to 4. Um, and I
That's
stopped
improvement.
taking prescription sleep aids because it was like if the baby cries in the middle of the night and I can't wake up, that's a problem, obviously. So it's I'm excited to get started. Obviously, I'm freaking terrified of like raising a kid in this world. I mean, Russia's rattling their sabers, China's rattling their sabers. The world's on fire, Joe. You know, people are protesting in Canada. People are protesting in the U.S.
It has
Governors
been my
are
whole life.
imposing rules and
Has been
regulations on
happening my
people, and
whole
then
life.
going to the Super Bowl and like just completely ignoring those rules. It's just everything about this whole thing has gotten so crazy, and like I think that part's scary too. Like for example, we were told that we should plan to be in the hospital for at least 2 days after the delivery, and that we can't have any visitors. And it's like, fuck,
Which
man,
for
like
you
I'm
is a
not
big
going to be
deal
around
because you have
anyone.
family nearby. Like for us, that wouldn't be anything. We'd be like, okay, perfect. We like that. For you, you actually guys have decent family around and probably may
My
not
parents are
mind
flying
that.
in, and yeah.
Yeah,
Well, not just that, but like, dude, being in a hospital for up to like 4 days, like that's kind of anxiety inducing as well. I just want everyone to be okay. I want you and Sarah Ray and your future daughter to be okay. I want my son and my wife and myself to be okay. But um, I feel very blessed that we got to go through this pregnancy experience together. I'll tell you what, because it was really
yes.
nice to have somebody like Joe to call and be like, "Hey, man, can we talk about some shit?"
Is this happening to you? Yeah, Shep. This is common. It's okay.
Yeah. So, and much like for you and Sarah Ray, we went through a long road to get here. We went the IVF route, and it's been a really long and arduous process. It's been really hard on my wife. She's had to go through a lot of physiological change, but you know, I'm pretty excited for you and I to be parents. I'm also really excited to like take our kids in the ocean. I'm
Yep.
excited that like you have Tuck, that we have Posey to be the first dog that our kids are going to grow up with. Like those are awesome dogs to learn from and to have be
Great
part of
dogs.
your family. So I just think we're in a very blessed position, dude.
Yeah, it's exciting. It's going to be a fun new adventure, and I guess maybe that's why I'm not as fearful as I'm just like, okay, what's this new adventure and routine going to be? Let's just get it figured out. But it'll be
It's
fun.
good.
It's going to be
It's a good
exciting,
place
and
to
yeah,
be.
I'd agree. Both of our wives have maybe not necessarily walked the same road, but this has been a very long road for the both of us. This isn't something where we just had COVID babies out of nowhere and got lucky. So we
Ain't
definitely
that the truth?
had put some hard work in for years before that, even before COVID came around. So yeah, it's going to be exciting and it's going to be fun. And yeah, I hope for the best for everyone. And I know it will go smoothly and we'll get it figured out.
Quick little sports date for everybody up out
Oh,
there. What's up?
I
Go
had
ahead.
some questions though. Sorry, it's
Yeah, what's up,
related to
man? Go ahead.
sports
Go ahead.
actually. Didn't you have some articles come out recently? I mean, you've
I
been,
did
and they're sports related. I've heard
somewhat.
you
Yeah, I
covered a
had
couple
the
of sports like contests, surf contests at least.
Yeah, I had the legend of Pegleg McGillicuddy. I can never remember. I don't know. It's an alleged story about somebody who may or may not actually exist. That released on OAF Nation. That was a really fun one. I'm going to actually do an audio recording of that one to release on the podcast. And then I had a big feature come out in Santa Cruz Waves this month. So it'll be on store or on shelves in Santa Cruz County for the month of February and March. It's the main feature. Like, I mean, they don't really do a main feature, but it's long. It's got a lot of pictures, and when you open it up, it's the main image on the table of contents, which is really exciting. It's a picture of Jose, and it talks about the rise of adaptive surfing. It's been, for me at least, this is probably the biggest publication regionally I've ever been in that like the Sentinel is big and all the newspapers and stuff like that, and OAF is obviously big, but like I cannot go to a store in Santa Cruz County for the next 5 to 7 weeks without like seeing somebody reading my story or seeing somebody holding the magazine that has like 8 pages of my work in it. And it's really it's really cool, man. I'm not going to lie. It feels really good to finally break through and I have now completed the Infinity Gauntlet. I've appeared in Pajaronian, Growing Up Santa Cruz, Aptos SoCal Times, Watsonville Times, Santa Cruz Sentinel,
And
um,
and
and now
also,
Santa Cruz Waves.
aren't you still doing stuff with the school, like with actual athletics and sports, and you're still doing a
Yeah,
bunch
here
of
and there.
sports stuff outside of surfing too?
Hey man, baby on the way, got to pay the bills, so I continue to maintain my relationship with the college. It's great. I love working with the kids. This most recent round of headshots, some of the girls brought props, which was like
I saw that. That
really
was cool.
fun. Yeah. Um and I left at the right time because it's been really hard to be a student athlete. It's been really hard to work for the state for the last year. And as much as I miss the day-to-day interaction with the kids, like today for example, if I have time, baseball's locked out, so I'll just might drive over and watch a baseball game for free and hang out outside. Posey loves it because she works for half of it, and then I let her get some loving towards the back end. But like, yeah, man, I mean,
Little
just
reward.
trying to stay as busy as I can, and starting next month I'm going to be doing some like more people photography stuff. So if anyone out there ever needs any pictures of anything, you just let me know and I'll do that for you. I'm a dirty whore when it comes to that. What about you, Joe? You got any big projects coming out in the next couple of weeks? Is there? I mean, you're going to be appearing on Late Night History soon, isn't that correct?
Supposedly that's going to be happening. Yeah, I've been. If I didn't get sick, I probably would have already worked with him a little sooner. But yeah, I think Matt is willing to have me on now. I'm hoping to get some good history anecdotes and see what roads we can go walk down and have some fun with. And that's going to be exciting. Um, I guess project wise, there's not too much surf stuff. Still working with any which wave. So when that gets closer, I'll kind of talk more about that and some of the board building. It's kind of going to be a web series about board building for different athletes. Some will be para surfing athletes, and then kind of a cool thing that has officially come about with One More Wave is our surfboard fin with our surf accessory surf fin manufacturer we work with has been approved. So I have a fin design coming out probably around April, May. Well, One More Wave will have a big fin come out, and that's pretty exciting too. So yeah, just
For
having
everyone
fun with it
listening at
all.
home, real quickly, that is going to be a very limited release. So if you want to get your hands on one of these fins, you have to be quick on the draw. So the day it drops, you got to order it because the odds are it won't be there in a week. Joe, is that fair to say, do you think? It's not a lot that you guys are manufacturing.
We're uh, it's all relative. I don't want to ruin your buzz. We're gonna have a manufacturer, and yes, the original initial run is only going to be 30. So if you want to get on the initial run, then yes, you want to jump on it. After that, we are working with a big manufacturer, so we'll get batches as much as we need them, depending on how popular they are. But I'm not expecting them to. Outside of One More Wave in the San Diego surf community, I'm not expecting them to go crazy big like in Hawaii or anything. But if you want that first run, yes, you got to get on it. I think there's only going to be 26 fins at first, and I'll guarantee you One More Wave will it's going to take at least half of those and end up giving them to riders over the next year. So
So just to clarify, this is the I understand that there are going to be more, but if you want a first edition a limited edition. What Joe has basically just told you is there's going to be more coming, but we'll have like 30. And then he low key was like 26. And then he was like, but half of that's going to go to one more wave. So in reality, 14 fins is not a lot of people. We have way more than 14 listeners. So be on there, buy it, let them know in the comments that you're a One More Wave supporter, that you heard about it on the podcast. I'm really excited
Oh,
because, like, Joe, at
on
some
this,
point I want you to tell us why you chose the fin style that you did and everything like that. Not today,
the
but
cool thing
at some
about
point.
this fin, I did want to bring up is all the profit goes to One More Wave. So it's really a cool thing. It basically comes right back into the program. So really, we can buy more fins for our riders and keep the mission going. So that's the cool part about the fin, I think.
Yeah. I'm just thinking about it. Like, we'll have Ryan on. We got to have Nick Betts back on to talk about his documentary series that just wrapped up on Vet TV because that was really cool, right?
He is
I want to
crushing the
have
content game,
He
crushing the
really
content game
is.
right now. It's not
Pretty sure
just
he's the
with Vet
creative director
TV
for
too.
Vet TV, right?
He is, but I mean, he's doing so much work. He's crushing Vet TV. He's everywhere. There's a lot of stuff he's getting his hands into. I'm really excited to see him grow, and I'm just stoked for him. Just cheering him on.
Yeah, I the sooner he pops to the national consciousness, the better. That guy just needs to get more exposure. I would love to have more people watching what he makes. But we'll have Nick, we'll have
He
Ryan, right? I want to reach out to Ben because Ben is starting to get into adaptive shaping. There
Ben
are
Way.
just Ben Way. There's just a
Ben Way.
whole
He is who I'm working with. With I think it's like any which wave or any given wave. I'll have to look it up for sure. But he would be great. Him and Sean would be great to have on. Sean's who's capturing all the content for that. Sean
yep.
Evans, Waterworks Media.
I was going to say we should reach out to him. We've got a whole bunch of surfing related people that we'd like to interview. It's a lot easier for us, for me specifically, to record interviews at this point because all I need to do is get someone to download Chrome. We'll see how this episode comes out. Right now, just like to give people a little inside baseball, it looks like my levels are a little low. Joe's levels are perfect. So once I get into post production, I'll see how easy it is to put this all together. But theoretically, should make it a lot easier to book guests.
I hope
Is there
so.
any other guests you really want to get on the show that, like, that this in 2022? Like, we need a couple of goal guests. Last year we finally got Leo Jenkins. We need some big guests we want to try and tie down. Can you think of anybody?
Hmm. I'll come back to you on that one. I don't know.
Fair
I
enough.
know
You too,
I have
audience. Let
ideas,
us know.
but I don't know. I don't know.
Well, Joe, I
I
think
have a
that's
question for you.
yeah. What's up, man?
We forgot something.
What did we forget?
Since we're already this far in, we might as well have a nerd alert. I mean, if they're still
All right.
sticking around, they obviously want to know this part about this, even though I know nothing about it, and I'm just going to be looking at Instagram when you talk about it. But you can make fun of me in the comments on YouTube for this. I
It's
did want to
okay.
talk
Everyone
about
else
that
can
since there
tap
was one
out.
less thing.
Yeah, right now I'm gonna go on a creative assembly rant and I'm gonna complain about a company based out of the UK. All right, so Total War is a genre of video games that have been around since I was in college. It started with Shogun Total War. I am an original era Total War guy. Okay, so I've been with this franchise since my college years. It like hit Rome. Rome was like a peak, and then it started to crater a little, and then Empire was really good, and then it started to crater a little. And like, long story short, in the modern era of Total War games, whenever they release, they are always dog shit, right? Like, there's this new thing where you take pre-orders and then you released a quarter finished game. And my example that I'll give of this is that when Warhammer 2 was released in 2017, it was not scaled. It didn't run well. The frames per second were terrible. It overloaded your graphics processor. It brought up your system operation temperature way too fucking high. Long story short, over time, they increased the unit diversity. They rebalanced the AI. They corrected some of the map issues. But more importantly, they fixed how it was spread across the processing system, right? This is a very minor thing to complain about, but it blows me away that you can charge $60 for a product plus all the downloadable content that you rip out another 70 to $100 out of somebody for per game. I am way too far invested in this game at this point because I bought Warhammer 1 and Warhammer 2 and all of the downloadable content because I'm a huge fucking nerd and I always wanted to play a war game where I could control Lord of the Rings, and this is my bootleg way to do it. To release a game set in a demonic hellscape in the Age of Sigmar and to not have blood effects enabled to try to get a lower rating is like releasing a porno with censorship on it. Look, I'm sorry. I am going to the realm of the blood god. I am here for the blood, okay? You cannot sell a product and not have it's called Warhammer. It is a gory, violent, depressing, sad, sadistic game.
Preach,
And
preach.
they've oh my god, it's like it's gonna go on the fucking Disney Channel. Anyway, I know I'm not the only person complaining. If you go on YouTube, there are people absolutely losing their shit. I'm not that angry because like Warhammer 2 today is a really good game. It's still not scaled very well in terms of how it like spreads out the assets across the CPU and GPU. Again, nerd alert. But all I'm saying is this is the first time I have done a day one launch where like the game came out and I was like, I'm going to allocate 3 hours. Nerd alert again. I have over 900 hours in Warhammer 2 since its release in 2017. I'm not saying that because I'm proud. I'm saying it because I'm owning this part of who I am, okay? I played that game for 15 minutes and I recorded the most angry rant on my computer, which I then erased because if I were to release it on YouTube, I would immediately be banned from the platform. But for everyone listening out there, if any of you are also playing Total War, if you have bought Warhammer 3, pardon me, get at me on Instagram. Let's play a multiplayer battle. Let's see how it holds up. I want to know if you are also frustrated by this barrier system that's been introduced. Also, the asset allocation during siege battles. That's a whole nother thing. But for now, you can't go to the realm of the blood god and not have there be blood in the battlefield. I'm sorry. There's a 60-foot blood fountain in the middle of the map, but there's no blood on the back.
I agree with you. I will stand with you there. There should be blood on the battlefield. That's what happens
I,
in real life. It should be
it's
there.
like when they
Let's
make a
not
rated R
disguise it.
movie PG-13 and it's like, well, what did they just cut a bunch of fucks? It's like, no. They cut away from like all of the impacts. It just,
It
it's
takes
the
it takes the thrill out of
Marvelification.
it. It sounds like.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm an adult, okay? I'm willing to pay my $2.99 for the blood. And this is the thing that's the most annoying. In a week or two, they're going to release downloadable content for $2.99, and you'll be able to enable that feature.
That's how they get
All
you.
right. Yeah. Yeah. And by the way, never mind the fact that like we're in the middle of a global GPU shortage and I'm using a like 9-year-old Anyway, I'm very happy with my machine. It's great. I love it. It's been a great gaming machine. And the fact that I got an RX 580 for $100 cash weeks before the world decided that like graphics cards were worth 4 times their normal value, I'm never going to complain about. But thank you, Joe, for giving me a chance. Nerd alert for everyone at home. I just had to do this. To the creative assembly, listen to me. You have to start listening to the fans. There is just no reason why I only played modified versions of your games as soon as that's an option. This game just came out, so there's no mods yet. I play overhaul mods on every one of your older games because you guys never fix this shit. Let's go. Get it together, Creative Assembly. I'm watching. The world's watching. Do it for the Warhammer. All right. Thank you, Joe. Nerd alert over. We're going to record another episode hopefully next week. We're going to try and bank at least 1 or 2 episodes before the kids get here for obvious reasons. But I keep telling everybody at home that we're going to release more episodes and we don't. I apologize. Joe and I are very, very busy, obviously. So, Joe, you got anything you want to plug?
OneMoreWave.com. Or are we 1mwave.com now? I want to
For the
plug that
next
real
month,
quick.
we're plugging 1mwave.com. We're migrating over. We're
Perfect.
migrating into one
So,
website.
all the One More Wave gear that you need, any of your meetup stuff that you need to get linked into, it's 1mwave.com now. Correct?
Stickers, t-shirts,
That's
hats,
right.
you
We have
name
some
it.
fire stickers coming out.
Yep, we got some cool ass sunglasses too. So, there's some
Nice.
cool stuff coming. You guys are going to enjoy it. Put it on your helmet, put it on your car. Tell all of your friends. Thank you for listening. On behalf of Joe, myself, everybody here at the Coastal Athlete Program, Tuck Posey, you name it, the little ones to be named later. Thank you for listening, and we will see you guys next time.
You.